Five Nights at Freddy's. Can we just stop the video there? A horror game franchise with a reputation like no other. Over its many years of fame and infamy, it has spawned not only countless sequels and fan works, but an entire genre of Mascot horror games. Some revere it as the best of indie horror online, and others ridicule it for being cringe and overdone. Personally, the series has taken a direction that has left me, a longtime fan, completely checked out. Regardless of how you feel about it, though, it's a massive phenomenon that cannot be stopped. So much so that a whole Five Nights movie is coming out this month. So in light of that, I feel like now is the perfect time to explore the origins of this weird little robot bear game. After all, to become a household name, it'd have to start somewhere special, right? In fact, I would go as far as to say Five Nights at Freddy's 1 is a masterpiece of an indie horror game. And before a mob quickly breaks down my door to rip me limb from limb, let me explain why. First and foremost, the gameplay is interesting and unique. Since being dubbed a quote, sit and survive style resource management game, it's a very apt description, as you are practically glued to your chair in this tiny office in the back of a pizzeria, monitoring cameras for approaching dangers and shutting them out when they get too close. Running is not an option, neither is fighting. Only defense. And not a very strong defense either, as every action you take, from monitoring the building to briefly lighting your doorways to blocking off killer robots, will all cause your limited battery power to dwindle faster and faster. If you let it die fully, game over. This on its own would already be a tough juggling act, but it's made even worse by the varied animatronics that you're attacked by. First, there's Bonnie the Bunny and Chica the Chicken, who aren't very complicated in their attacks, but can trip you up. Both slowly inch toward your office from the stage on the other side of the building. Just keeping your eyes on the cameras, or even just their auditory cues for proximity, is enough with these two. The only tricky bit is that they flank you from either side, Bonnie on the left and Chica on the right, making you dart back and forth to keep your eyes on both doors once they get close enough. Beyond them, the next toughest of these mechanical murder machines is Foxy the Pirate Fox. Foxy is out of order during the duration of our work week at Freddy's, but don't let the sign fool you. If you look away from his camera for too long, he'll start to peek out, pulling back the curtain with his hook hand. And once he's loose, he'll sprint down your left hallway, only to be stopped by slamming the door shut in his face. Then he'll return to his little stage in the corner. Even if he doesn't kill you, though, you're not getting off scot-free for letting him out. Upon reaching your door, he'll bang on it, somehow shaving off larger and larger fractions of the battery each time he gets to the door. Because of this, it's better to just keep an eye on him via your cameras. Now, Foxy is tricky, but the titular Freddy the Bear is easily the trickiest. See, Freddy works on a similar system to Foxy, but he's only really active past night 3. The longer you keep your eye on him, the longer he'll remain stuck in place. But even this can't fully stop him, though. Once he's loose, he'll teleport around the building at speeds that seem impossible, lurking in the shadows and hard to spot on most cameras. This teleporting is accompanied by his haunting laugh. Eventually, he'll appear on your hallway camera, and then, if the door is left open, skip straight into your office. He'll also appear if your power goes out at any point, singing his song in the dark for a randomly decided amount of time before getting you. This can cause many intense endings of nights, considering it isn't exactly a game over till the fat bear screams.
I've run out of power! Oh, I've run out of power! Is he there? I don't want to die. I don't want to die. Ah, 1% power! Ah! Oh no! Oh no! No, 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 no! Oh no, 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 no! Hi! Oh god damn it! How are you doing? Did I make it? Did I make it? Yeah!
All these animatronics combined with your power limitation and generally poor security make for a challenging gameplay loop. though it also ensures that with that many variable, no two nights are ever the same, no matter how often you replay this game. This gives it an addicting, arcadey feeling that cements it as a very solid game experience. So, I've established that the mechanics at the core of the game are more than suitable. What about the wrapping? Well, in terms of setting an atmosphere, this is absolute peak for me. The story, though it has since been retconned and edited into an oblivion, is as follows. You are Mike Schmidt, a newly hired night watchman for the run-down, poorly maintained, Chuck E. Cheese-esque Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. During the day, the pizzeria hosts children's birthday parties featuring an animatronic mascot band able to put a smile on any kid's face. But at night, it's a dilapidated, dark, dingy place filled with dark corners and killer robots haunted by the souls of missing children. Each night, you arrive, get neatly seated in your office, weirdly far away from the desk, might I add, and listen to pre-recorded phone messages left from the previous guy in your position.
Hello? Hello?
Giving you advice and legal disclaimers from the company. Then you get on to realizing why this place has such a high turnover rate.
I'm finishing up my last week now, as a matter of fact.
Before we get too far away, though, I want to talk about those voicemails that you get. They're the first thing you hear upon starting the game, and the first thing to set the tone for the game. Like the pizzeria itself, for the most part, these calls are light if you pay no mind to them.
I know it can be a bit overwhelming, but I'm here to tell you there's nothing to worry about. You'll do fine. So let's just focus on getting you through your first week.
Just little company disclaimers.
Fazbear Entertainment is not responsible for damage to property or person.
But if you listen at all, you'll notice that the whole thing is off-kilter. In a very bad way.
Upon discovering that damage or death has occurred, a missing person report will be filed within 90 days or as soon as property and premises have been thoroughly cleaned and bleached and the carpets have been replaced.
Hiding sinister undertones and hinting at previous incidents like the bite of 87.
They used to be allowed to walk around during the day, too. But then there was the bite of 87. Yeah. It's amazing that the human body can live without the frontal lobe.
That leave a gruesome and frightening image in your head without ever saying or doing more than absolutely necessary. In fact, a lot of the game's horror works this way. From nearly the whole game being still images, to blind spots in your cameras, to the many ambient sounds you hear, it's all a smoke and mirrors act to get your mind racing to fill in the gaps with all the things you can't see. FNAF plays on that fear of the unknown, informing you just enough to know what you're scared of, but rarely showing more than still figures obscured by darkness and camera static. Other than Foxy, we never really see any of the animatronics move on the cameras, just there 1 second, then static, and gone the next. I feel like this theater of the mind approach, letting the player scare themselves with just enough stimulus from the game to keep the blood pumping, is what really solidified how scary this game was, and why so many people bought into the premise. Speaking of speculation, I feel like that's another thing that can be pointed at as a reason for the success of Five Nights at Freddy's. Not only does it get your mind racing about what manner of monster lies around the corner, but why that monster is there to begin with. FNAF leaves you thinking after a play session about its story and what answers there could be to the many burning questions it wants you to ask. These answers are in the game to some extent, but tend to be cryptic, easily missed, or lead to whole new questions and theories. I bet somebody could build a whole channel around that. Regardless, the game follows its horror tactics through into its storytelling, by only showing just enough, leading the players crafting more interesting stories to fill the gaps than the game could ever provide. For instance, when I listed all the animatronics earlier in my section on the gameplay, I'm sure anyone familiar with the game will notice that I neglected to mention one of them. This was because the fifth frightening robot isn't really relevant, since they typically won't be encountered during the average playthrough, and are easily avoided if they are. The final character can be found by randomly getting a poster in your right hallway to change to the image of a yellow Freddy. If you spot this, lower your camera and you will be met with the limp body of the figure in the poster. After a few moments, the screen will change to the face of this yellow bear, A scream will play, and the game will crash. This is a unique behavior to happen after death exclusively for this character. That is as far as the entire Easter egg goes. No text, no fanfare, just a poster and a crash. I mention this in detail because it's the perfect example of how FNAF's early lore was handled. The yellow bear was found by the community, speculated on, and eventually dubbed Golden Freddy by the fandom. Though no one knew exactly what this guy's deal was, everyone went absolutely hog-wild theory crafting on the significance of this character. I think it's what's so great about FNAF 1's storytelling was all the questions and few answers, leaving the player to speculate and craft their own answers. That way, the answer is something that no sequel could compete with. The more you hype up and speculate on what the secrets of Freddy's mean, the more anticlimactic it's going to be to have that answered. So what's the ideal solution? Easy, don't answer them. Allowing the first entry in the series to stand in a vacuum might not have generated as much revenue or success, but I think it would have been a better game for it. Alright, so those were my reasonings on why Five Nights at Freddy's is an absolute masterpiece in indie horror gaming. From its challenging arcade-like gameplay with plenty of replayability to the unmatched atmosphere and vague horror to its simple yet thought-provoking initial lore. It is for sure one of the finest of its kind, and deserves the praise and impact it's had on the horror scene since its release. 8 years on and it's still unmatched in the Mascot horror genre to me, or even within its own series of games. It's one of those rare cases where the first of its kind ends up becoming the best of its kind, in my opinion. So, what are your thoughts on the first FNAF game? Do you agree or disagree with anything specifically that I've mentioned? Let me know in the comments below, and if you want to see more content like this, drop a like on the video. Or, just to see what I do next, hit the subscribe button. Happy Halloween, I've been Voxel64, and I'll see you next month.